Hey Mike, how you doing? Oh, can you hear me? I think you're on mute.
How are you, Gaurav?
I'm doing great. Great to see you. Thanks for your patience there. I was just running a minute late. I am excited to be on your podcast and on your show here. I love the background and the setup there. It's
Thank
amazing
you.
with your, with your map behind you. It's a great setup.
Thank you. This is my recording studio that I have in my house.
Nice.
I'm a musician too, so I spend a lot of time here. There's a drum room right next door there.
Nice.
So,
Feels like you enjoy
yeah,
kind of creating stuff, right?
absolutely, absolutely. So it's Gaurav, right? Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, you're saying it perfectly. Gaurav.
Got it. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, very much for joining. It's really nice to meet you. I'm excited to talk to you and talk about Involve and any of the other things that you're involve.ai, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, involve.ai.
Yeah, and some of the other things you're working on. So you are CEO of Involve, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
All right. How long has that been a concern?
Yeah, great question. So I've been a CEO of the company for about 4 years now, and we launched a new product, Involve AI, about a year ago.
Okay, excellent.
Mhm.
And was this was your startup? This was you're the main founder?
I am. I have a co-founder, and she and I have been doing startups for. She's amazing. We've been doing startups for about 10 years now, but this is our second company together. So excited to be on the journey with her again. And we've known each other since high school. She's a rock star programmer, and so excited to be on the journey with her.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, so we'll dive into Involve a little bit. I have some
Mhm.
questions on that. I would check out your
Great.
website and just yeah, I'll have some questions on that. Um,
Mhm.
so this podcast is really focused on innovation first,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So what we do is
Yeah.
talk about all these different industries that we've been involved in. I'm sure you've been
Mhm.
involved in many different ones. I've been involved in about a dozen different industries over the last 30 years and have seen, everything evolve,
I'm
including
sure.
the internet.
Mhm.
Um, and so we just kind of dive deep into an area that you feel comfortable about, with Involve or any of the other things that you're doing
Mhm.
in those industries that you see a lot of innovation happening, or
Mhm.
maybe there's something that needs to be innovated that's just not quite happening yet. So that's
Mhm.
that's kind of the crux of the conversation. Um, so, I'll open it up to you. So with Involve, we can talk about it from the perspective of Involve or anything else that you see fit. I
Yeah.
would just start by asking, what industries do you serve mostly, or do you feel most
Great.
comfortable with in your current position?
I like it, Mike. It sounds like the goal for the podcast is innovation. You've been through so many industries in your journey in tech, so really focus on what's going on with AI, what's going on with innovation, and
Yeah,
and that's kind of the goal for the conversation, right? Would that be accurate? So sounds like that's what you want me to focus on.
absolutely. And if you want to talk AI specifically, that's awesome, because that's near and dear to my heart, being at
Yeah.
Smartbot. So
Yeah, let's
perfect.
let's talk about AI. I want to focus a lot on that. And
Okay.
that's kind of what so feel free to ask questions. So shape the conversation. I can go into my background and just talk about the stuff we're doing and how it impacts the industry and what's going on in the industry in general that I'm seeing.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Um,
Mhm.
so so with Involve, it's a customer retention platform, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, and if you want to say involve AI for the podcast, we kind of
Involve
like
AI.
that better. Yeah, just say involve AI. It's a because involve is hard to find just for searchability. It might help us. Yeah, just say involve AI. It is a customer retention platform. We call it a customer intelligence platform, but you're absolutely right. That's the goal. It's to how do we improve customer satisfaction, increase revenue, increase retention, and reduce churn.
Got it. And what industries do you serve mostly?
A lot of B2B companies. So everything from manufacturing, construction, software as a service companies, hardware and software product companies. Those are our core focus.
Right. And are you seeing any industry in particular that 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 suffers from a lot of churn?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think churn is an issue in a lot of different companies. B2C as an example, with consumer experiences, consumer retention is really hard. These days,
Hmm.
brand loyalty is really hard. We started with B2B because we felt it's a more complex problem, and there's strategies on an account level that you need. And there's a bigger pain point or a bigger gap in the market that we went after. So just a quick story here, a story time. We have been running SaaS companies for many years now. Me and my co-founder. Our first company was right after high school. So I started coding when I was 10, built my first video game at 12, and met my co-founder in a coding class, and we became friends instantly. One of the challenges that she was solving for, she's a very mission focused founder, and a challenge we were solving for was how do hospitals improve healthcare experiences for patients and improve patient experience, especially when you have data everywhere. It's like notes and paper trails. How do you get that organized? So we kind of started working towards that, and we solved that problem. And we sold to a lot of hospitals. One of the challenges we had was churn. Churn was an issue for us. We would lose customers, and we would always anticipate accounts to churn, and the ones that we weren't anticipating would churn. So we always were very curious about our customers. We were very customer obsessed as founders. So one of these days, me and my co-founder, we sat down. We said, "Hey, there's got to be a better way. Can we use data to predict which accounts are happy, unhappy, and how do we drive best action so we can be proactive in serving our customers?" So we started doing some analysis. We built this Python script that would just do rudimentary AI and just understand behavior and customer behavior to give predictions for customers. And so when we started this company, we actually brought that tool along with us. And when COVID hit, some of the other CEOs we work with, we started giving it to them. We said, "Hey, why don't you use it for your customer base? You'll get an instant score in less than 15 minutes of where are your each customer and how do they rank? Are they 100%? Are they 90%? Are they 30%? So you know which ones to focus on." And that worked really well. So we decided to launch this as a product. So that's kind of our journey been, and we feel
Hmm.
that uh, consumer companies suffer the most from churn, but the biggest gap we feel exists in the B2B space where we're going first, where companies don't have a lot of visibility because the complexity is so high. For example, if Nike is selling shoes, and as a consumer, I prefer Nike over Adidas, I can easily
Hmm.
choose and switch, and the switching decision is not complex. But switching decision in a B2B enterprise, $1 million deal or 500,
Hmm.
$200,000 customer, it's pretty complex because it could depend on the support ticket that they send that didn't get resolved. It could depend on competitors trying to pitch them, the champion leaving the company, how the product utilization has been. Could just be like that they don't have budget, the industry might be suffering. So with AI, we
Right.
can bring those complexities and help make better decisions on how to improve customer satisfaction and customer experience.
Right. Yeah. So big data and data-driven analysis have been kind of front and center for many
Mhm.
years now, as far as just about any major corporation, right? They're dealing with how do we wrangle all this data and how do we better utilize it? And the promise of AI, right, is to be able to leverage all that data and start making some predictions and start using that data in different ways to help in all areas, and a lot of companies are calling this digital transformation. So I want to ask, how do you think AI um, is going to help really deliver the promise of digital transformation for these companies?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Mike. And I think you brought on it really well. You started with talking about how data, all the buzz was around data infrastructure, data lakes, data warehouses. Snowflake just went public, AWS. Can we just capture this data and centralize it?
Right.
The second buzz was around Tableau and Looker and all these data visualization tools, which happened in the 2000s, where people started seeing graphs and charts and easy way to visualize data to make predictions. I feel the third wave that's happening, and with companies like SmartBot, where you're using a note taker here that's AI driven. It's all about understanding what the data is saying and predicting and giving actionable insights. Like just, I feel I've been a sales rep before. I've worked in sales and customer service. People just want to wake up and say, which account should I focus on? What should I do? And what is my best action? And I feel
Mhm.
that's where the industry is headed. And that's what will be the next evolution of digital transformation, is all about predictive insights. Just you wake up every morning, you see a list of 5 things you should do. So you don't have to, human brain should be about creativity. I think everything that's about, problem solving and having complex conversations, behavior, language, understanding, empathy, I feel everything else AI can take over, which is organizing data, cleaning data, tagging it, making sure they we make predictions so the AI can just tell you, here's the 5 things you do. How you do it, you could do it in your most creative way as a person. I think that's where the next evolution is happening with augmentation of AI. I don't think AI is there yet where it can just completely take over people in a lot of
Yeah,
jobs. Maybe for some jobs, that are very manual, that don't require any thinking, but I feel that's where the augmentation can happen. All the boring stuff can be done by AI. All the creative stuff can be done by humans.
right. And I agree. And the question is from, if you're in a healthcare, if you're running a healthcare organization, if you're a CIO of a healthcare organization, and AI is on the radar, it's definitely on the radar for most. How much do you trust it? How much are you investing in, if you're thinking from the perspective of a CIO, how much stock do you put in the AI strategy across the board, in your opinion?
A lot. I mean, I'm very bullish about it. And I feel that it's extremely important as a CIO of a healthcare company, CIO of any industry, but let's say focusing on healthcare primarily. There's just so many dollars that go into administrative work, that go into innovation in what's next. But what's lacking is operational efficiency, and how do you deliver that, and how do you deliver innovation at a path-breaking record? And if you look at COVID vaccines that came out, I was doing a study of analysis of how AI was able to do so much more computation to fast forward these vaccine rollouts. And I feel it's everywhere. And the more the a better infrastructure as a CIO you can create for the future, then you can run faster experiments. You can build it in your product suites. You can use it to improve operational efficiency, use it to drive more revenue and reduce costs. So I feel I would definitely put at least 8 or 9 or 10% of my budgets to artificial intelligence, either using vendors from outside or just building your own data science capacity.
Right. So that you bring up an interesting point on, I want to break this down one more level when we talk about AI, because as you know, in the space, you probably deal with this a lot, as we do. A lot of people, a lot of buyers or CIOs or VP level have varying opinions on the efficacy of AI, or the practical nature of actually getting something done with AI, and maybe understanding how to best apply it, because it is such a new field that there's limited understanding across the board on even what data science means when you talk about, especially from the business side of an organization, right? The IT side could probably explain data science within their own world, but how do you explain data science to the customer support VP that that needs to do that needs to determine better how the voice of their customer, right? So how would you, in your words, explain AI in general for the non-IT person in these organizations?
Yeah, okay, Mike. So what I feel, and sounds like what you're asking, is how do you just simplify this for people who are not AI experts, right? How do you take
Yeah,
out the buzzwords? How do you tell them how do you make them believe in the
yeah,
power of AI and what it can do?
exactly.
So what I do and what we do is we make it really simple. kind of talk about the why and the what first, and then the how. I feel that the why is the most important. A lot of AI companies that started, they didn't start with the why. They're like, okay, let's do something cool with it. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen every different. I've been playing around with language models recently. So we
Hmm.
use GPT-3 as an example by OpenAI for one of our features. GPT-3, they put in a lot of money, they made these language models, but then they gave it to the world and said, you tell us how you could use it, right? We don't know. We just built something really cool. I feel that's kind of lacking. So what a lot of startups and companies are doing now is coming about the why. Our why is, how do you understand the voice of your customer, as an example. So that's the why. So we go to the customer support VP and say, one of your challenges is, how do you understand which customers are happy, unhappy? What are they saying? What are the biggest issues that are happening in your organization, in your product suite at any given point of time? And can you know that before time, so that you can be more proactive rather than reactive? That's the why. Then you go about what would be that, okay, we'll give you tools that you can give to your customer service reps, so they wake up and they see, these are the 5 things I need to focus on, and these are the things that are trending in my industry, and these are the things that are trending in my accounts, so that we can be on top of these issues. Then you go in the how you do it, and that's where you talk about AI. And by the way, instead of hiring 10 data science reps or 10 data analysts to correlate data and match, look at every single row, we can analyze and crunch billions of data points, find correlations, run these analyses just using AI, and give you the most meaningful results that are proven. And we've done this for 100 other companies, or learned from models like GPT-3 and other models that have been analyzing the whole internet for the past 10 years. So we can bring that power to you without you hiring a really big team. I feel
Right.
that's where the education comes in, and what the VPs of data, customer support, or CIOs and CEOs don't want to hear is, oh yeah, this is really cool, but how do I use it? What do I use it for? And why is it valuable for me?
Explain,
So that,
explain really, yeah, explain really quick when you say model. Just give us a good like plain language definition of what a model is.
okay. So an easy way to say a model is, a model, basically what it does, the simplistic form of a model would be, um, you almost like an Excel sheet, right? Let me start there. So you have an Excel spreadsheet that has three columns. It has A, B, and C, right? Column A, for example, has the number 10 in it. Column B has an operation, multiplication, and column C has number 5 in it. And if you write a column D, and you can say the operation is A multiplied by C, right? So A, you combine the columns A, B, and C, that's going to give you the result 50, right? I go in and I say, well, in this world, it might be 50, but what, and then I say, instead of 50, I write 60. I just say it's 60. Um, and then what I do is, then I go to the next column and next row, and then I put some numbers and I tell them a number 70 or number 80. What the model does is, instead of that multiplication, it's trying to understand that if the answer 10 multiplied by 5 is 50, but the human here wants the answer to be 60, then multiplication may actually mean you do 10 multiplied by 5 and then add 10 more digits to it, for example. Then that's the result, 60. So the model, what it tries to do is tries to figure out, if you have these complex number of parameters that are going in, what does the function happen and why is it happening? And then it can say, if that function happens, then the answer should be something else, and it can generate its own ideas like that, and based on what it's seen in the past. And that's what the model is. They could be different models. They're semi-supervised learning models, which means that you train them and you say, here's my data sets. Like, for example, I can train every podcast that Mike's done, and I can say, for Mike's podcast, people love innovation. So the next idea for his podcast should be 10 ways to not use AI. Or it could be 3 ways that companies used AI and lost billions of dollars. That would be really interesting analysis based on all of Mike's podcasts, the content of the podcast, and then it can take that, understand what people enjoyed, how many views it got, how did people react to things, and what was the content of Mike's podcast to recommend ideas for the next podcast, as an example. Then what AI can do, what we can write a model based on the scripts that Mike said, the question Mike's asked, can we create an outline for Mike's podcast? And that's what the AI can do on its own. It's taking a set of, what Mike likes, how Mike performs, and giving an output or recommendation for the future. And that's where the model comes in. Even Excel is modeling. You go to Excel, financial models are built on Excel because they take numbers and then they predict something, and it's based on formulas. But in AI, the formulas are also being learned at the same time that the output is being learned. And that's what models are. That would be my easiest way of defining models.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's going to be very helpful to understand that. And why now? So, what's so? If you look at the computing history, his timeline of the last 30 years, right? We certainly had the computing power 10 years ago to use models and data science. I mean, big data hit the scene more than 10 years ago. Tableau has been around for much longer, right? So what is it that's happening now that you think AI is so much a front and center, and it is a buzzword in a lot of ways, in a lot of circles, but it's actually being leveraged daily and invested in heavily. Companies are getting big money funding, all that, right? So why do you think what's so special about the last 2 years that it's gone crazy?
Yeah, and my thesis is that the world is getting smarter, and it's almost like how babies, when they're born, they go from year 1 to year 2, they learn if they knew 10% of the world's information. Now they know 20%. From year 2 to year 3, now they know 40%. And then when humans get older, they only learn slowly. So from 80%, you grow to 80.5% in a year, 81% in a year. And I feel that's what's happening with the world's data and world's information. The progression that we're having every century, we were 200 years ago, we didn't even have cars, as an example. And 100 years ago, cars were introduced. 50 years ago, planes were aircrafts were introduced, and spaceships were introduced. The information gap, the innovation that is happening is doubling, if not tripling, every year. And that's better for society because we get to learn as humans. We get to understand our past, learn from it, build better features, build a better life. When my parents were working really hard, I lost my dad to cancer when I was 2 years old. My mother worked really hard, blue collar parent, put in a lot of work. And she said, one day, we'll realize this because my kids will be able to be happy, educated. And here comes this generation in the future where they're like, why waited for the next lifetime? That's how humans have been evolving. If there's a really good book called Mankind, which talks about the evolution of humans, it talks about why do we have to wait for the pleasures and innovations for the next lifetime? Why not make it happen here? And the only way to do that is the faster you can learn, the faster you can adapt as a society. That's where we feel internet was really powerful, right? The third innovation, and this is really the fourth industrial revolution for me, is artificial intelligence, because it makes you just learn that much faster and innovate that much faster. And that's why the time is now. And it's happening right now. It's going to affect every industry. It's going to be everywhere. It's starting with tech, obviously, but it's going to go to every single industry. First, it's going to augment before it's ready to replace. And there's a really good book called Super Intelligence, which talks about that how it's going to replace everything in the future. And we have to be ready for it because those jobs will get displaced and all these things will happen. I think it's very far away. It's not going to happen, at least in the next 10 years. But that's where we are headed into.
Yeah. So you're saying this is the fourth industrial revolution is AI.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Third one being
Absolutely.
the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think I don't have any data to back that up to disagree with you, but I think that that's probably true. So would you say are some of the risks associated with, if you're thinking as a CIO of a healthcare organization or manufacturer or logistics supply chain, what are some of the risks by taking 10, 15% of your budget and investing in AI this year in 2021?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you're always trying to search for, how do you use it, and I think the biggest challenge is, can you find use cases for integrating AI into it? So one of my recommendations to all CIOs is start with the why. Like, what is the why? Is it you want to improve sales? Right? Is the CEOs, is that the big use case? Whichever industry. Is it to reduce cost? Is it to improve products? That should be a big use case. How do I build better products? How do I innovate for my next product? Or
Yeah.
is it to improve customer experience or customer satisfaction? Really figure out what are you trying to solve for, and then see if AI could be used in it. And instead of building everything from scratch, really utilizing other startups and other companies that have been working on a specific area in a specific domain. And that would be the
Yeah.
recommendation. So as an example, when Elon Musk built Tesla, he started Tesla and he had a big vision. And then he realized that we could have auto drive, which is one part of Tesla. And can we use AI to better have better auto drive features, and to make it even better, learn even faster. And I would say that's how I would assume the problem. It's not that you have to take and completely rip out everything you're doing, but just focus on one part that could be really efficient to provide a great customer experience, build a better product, and that's where AI could be utilized. That's why 10% budget seems fair, because you're still trying to solve, it's not just an R&D budget, it's to solve a specific problem just using innovation.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. I agree with that 100%. So let's talk a bit about Involve AI and your solution directly. So it's a software product that helps companies reduce churn, which is losing customers essentially, right? Moving to the competition, or just canceling their subscription. How does it work? What are some of the customer use cases that you have going right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what we do, Mike, the problem that we solve for is there's a lot happening in sales intelligence and marketing intelligence, and a lot of money and a lot of innovation. But 80% on an average for every company, the revenue comes from your current customers in any industry, in any geography. Obviously, there's some who are early stage who are chasing new logos. There's some big companies out there that 95% of the money they make every year is based on renewals. But for an average, it's 80%. Although there's a lot of every system that exists in this space is very manual. It's still very non-intelligent, I would say, very stupid. So we kind of attacked this space where we felt that a lot of things happen because of your customers. Like, a company started when you create a product or a service for a group of customers, and people usually forget about their customers. And that's where we feel AI can be really powerful, because the big challenge is it's really hard to tell the whole story. One person who's managing 10 accounts really understands what's going on with those 10 customers, but doesn't really have visibility on what happened 5 years ago, what happened 2 years ago in a different department, in a different unit. And there's all this data that is being captured in 9+ systems. The challenge is the current solutions, they want you to join the data, put it in spreadsheet, and then you know what the health of each customer is. We can use AI to automate that, automate data capture. A lot of data is non-uniform. We make it uniform. We organize it using AI, use a lot of algorithms to figure out which customer is happy, is unhappy, what are they talking about, correlate these segments, and then give insights for every customer-facing team to automatically understand which accounts should I focus on, which customers are not seeing the value from our product, how can we improve retention, how can we reduce churn, and how can we improve upsells. So ultimately, it's still going to the bottom line, but the end goal is you have better customer experience, happier team members, and you build better products for your customers. And that's why we decided to solve the problem, and that's kind of what we're focusing on.
Yeah, that sounds really good. The question is, how do you really measure the customer satisfaction? Like, what are you tapping into to gather that data in order to really, understand their sentiment?
Yeah, that's a great question too, Mike. So we do a few things. We look at quantitative data, which is what are the customers using? How are they using your product, service? Let's say if it's a software product. I'll give an example. Let's say if we work with Microsoft, Microsoft has 100 different software products. Pick Microsoft Word. Then we'll see how organizations use Word. How often do they log in? Are they using Word online? Are they using Word on desktop? Have they integrated fast? How many support tickets are coming in? So we look at a lot of quantitative metrics to derive engagement, retention, cohort analysis. The second thing we can look at is qualitative data. If the companies measure and use Salesforce to log emails, like customer emails that come in for complaints or just for interactions, then we can figure out what is being talked about. Are customers really talking at a different cohort? Are they talking about the bad user experience, or are they talking about, the onboarding is an issue? If they mention that, hey, we're using Google Docs now, so that's like talking about it, we're using a competitor. So we can use both quantitative and qualitative data, and then have alerts on those. So every time a customer mentions Google Docs, we can send information to the Microsoft team member saying, hey, your account is talking about Google Docs. Maybe they're not that happy. Go look at the support tickets. Are they not utilizing the product? Are they not seeing the value? Just give them real-time information. Instead of 3 months later when the customer is no longer using Microsoft Word, then you get to know 3 months later that, oh yeah, in one of the tickets they were talking about that they want to move to Google Docs. And it's just impossible to manage this at scale when you have millions of customers or even hundreds of small businesses or mid-size or enterprise companies using you. That's challenging. And that's kind of what AI can do, is really make fast decisions, join data, correlate it, and give you insights.
Yeah, that's fascinating. How are they how are your customers notified? So if there's a new trigger that's sent off, like you said about Google Docs, who's seeing that, and how are they getting that information?
Yeah, we send it to the owner, so we map it. What we do is we would send it to, let's say, Mike, if you own the top 100 accounts at your company. So we will associate you with those 100 customers. And if anything goes wrong with those customers, positive or negative in the sense they want to unhappy, it's not moving along, positive in the sense that there's new opportunities for expansion or just a good customer experience, we'll notify you either on email. We can create a Salesforce task or give you an Asana task, whatever you use will plug into your workflow and just give you the notifications there. So it's added as an action item for you. You can either exit out and say it doesn't make sense, or you can accept it, and that now becomes one of your tasks for the week.
Right, I see. That's great. So when it comes to Involve AI, I want to wrap up on this. Its primary purpose is to help companies understand the voice of the customer, how they're using the products, are they satisfied, alerting product owners, alerting customer care owners, whoever is the stakeholder there, they're getting that that information. So what is it, how do you typically engage with the client? Is it like do you do like a pilot, or do you I mean, it's got to take some time to tap into that data, I'm thinking.
We do, Mike. So you're absolutely right. I think you just defined the problem that we're solving very accurately. Our vision is to help companies, the world, manage their customers with intelligence. That's kind of our motto. That's why we're doing this. And we do proof of concepts. Although it's not necessary to tap into the data, integrations do take time, but we've built a lot of APIs, low-tech, high-tech ways to get access to customer data. But once that's established, we've already been training our algorithms, and that's why AI can be powerful, because we've learned from all these customers we've worked with, and even our data from a lot of years, that it's not a cold start. We can come in to a customer and give them predictions based on what we have learned, and then slowly learn their behavior, learn their data, learn about their customers, and the predictions only get better.
Right. That's fascinating. So what's in store for Involve AI this year and next? What excites you about what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's a lot of growth, Mike. We're adding customers every day. We're adding new people every day. I'm looking for a lot of positions. If anyone listening is interested, we're looking for a digital marketing person, sales reps, a lot of full stack engineers, machine learning engineers, looking for a head of growth, head of product marketing, head of marketing. So we're hiring all across.
Wow.
We have some cultural values. We are very product obsessed. We believe in growing every day. We believe that we have to collaborate, that we have to win as a team. We take ownership and accountability, and kind of have that growth mindset that we want to be infinite learners. So if you fit that kind of personality, any of the listeners, then would love for you to talk to us. But just a lot of growth, building a great team. We have a great vision. We want to help companies and the world manage their customers with intelligence, and we're built on AI. So AI is our foundation, and that's kind of what excites us.
Awesome. All right. Final question for you, Gaurav, and I'll let you go back to your day here. So considering you've been involved since at a young age as a developer, you said you started at 10, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. What would you say is your favorite innovation that you've experienced? Involve AI can't be the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Just it can be if you really want it to be. But what do you say is thinking across the board, right? What would you say is one of your favorite innovations that you're just really amazed that you've seen in your lifetime?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now I'm gonna think through this. So many things come to mind. I'm thinking of one of the ones that's made my life really easy. I gotta think through this. Of like a lot of competing things. While I'm thinking this, Mike.
Sorry, go ahead. You broke up.
Oh, I was saying while I'm thinking, Mike, what is yours? What is your favorite innovation? Just
Yeah,
curious.
right. I would say that I would say digital audio is probably at the top because forever it's taken an army of people to record a song or to record anything, and all of the tape and it'd take weeks, and it would be huge amounts of physical space to take up just to record a song or an album, right?
Yeah.
And now you can literally record a full song that would be as high quality as you'd ever hear it on a phone. You can literally plug in a little jack here, plug in a guitar, a microphone, loop it, do everything, and you can even submit it to be released on Spotify. You could be out in the middle of the forest and do it. And I think
I love it.
I think that's pretty amazing. I think it's opened the door for creators around the world, and I think you probably heard the stat that I think there's 60 or it's somewhere between 60 to 100,000 songs a week are being released. Wow. It's really done a lot to help people be creative. I would say that's at the top. I don't know if I have, I know it's a hard question to answer because there's so many. I
think one comes to mind. I have a story. Yeah. So I remember when I was about 14 years old, we were in India, and me and my brother, we were driving one day, and we were just off-roading. So what we were doing is, my brother was older than me, so he decided to take our car. We had a really beaten up car, older car, and we decided to just visit almost like a journey from, let's say, LA to San Francisco or Boston to New York kind of trip. And we went on our journey, and we were going, and at one point our car broke down, And India is very unique. Not everybody speaks the same language. So there's dialects. So we got stuck. We got stuck in the middle of somewhere, and we didn't know where we were. So we asked for help, and someone came and changed our tire. We were really scared. You know, we were really young, so we were in a foreign place. And when the car got fixed, it took almost a day to ask for help for passerbys to help us. The car got fixed. We were so excited, and from there, when the car was even fine, to come back home, it took us 3 days, and it had only taken us a few hours to get to that place. And the reason was because we were so scared and we had bad experiences. We never stopped to ask how we were going. We just said we want to go back home. We didn't know exactly how to get back home even, because we had these maps. And I'm sure when you were driving in foreign places, you remember, you used to print out a map, and that's how you would go along on your journey. So I feel Google Maps, when it came out, it changed the world for us. You know,
Yeah.
you can go and navigate in any part of the world, in any country, and it's very accurate directions. I think that's one of my favorite innovations.
Yeah, definitely. GPS, Google Maps is a mind-bending thing to really understand what impact that's had in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Well, Gaurav, it was really great to meet you and talk to you. It's very informative. I really learned a lot about what you're doing there with Involve AI and that space. Sounds like you've got a lot of good things going there, and I wish you the best of luck with everything. And again, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Great to be with you, and thanks for the opportunity.
You bet. All right. I'll talk to you
Awesome.
soon.
Sounds good, Mike. Take care. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.